My name is Emmanuel Mahlang. I'm the president of the Zimbabwe Confederation of Midwives. This association is a professional association of midwives. The midwives are in government, private in practice, and the local authorities. The COVID-19 situation brought about challenges that had never been previously experienced. As midwives, we have pledged to save the lives of women in childbirth. The very definition of midwife means being with women, which means we stand with women during childbirth, whatever the circumstances. COVID-19 brought about fears, concerns, which saw midwives so fearful for their own safety to an extent that service provision was disrupted.
My name is Tonirai Badasara. I'm a lawyer with Mpanga Badasara Attorneys. We have been retained by WILSA as the lawyers to deal with cases in general dealing with reproductive health rights. That is a right that is enshrined in terms of Section 76. And during COVID, what we have observed is that a lot of emphasis was now being put on trying to deal with the pandemic, which resulted in other rights being neglected or being playing second fiddle to the issue of COVID. And one of these rights is a fundamental right, which is contained in our Constitution, Chapter 4 of the Constitution, which is the Bill of Rights, which is the right to health care.
My name is Precious Shumba. I'm the director of the Harare Residents Trust. The Harare Residents Trust is a residents organization operating in Harare Metropolitan Province. We are concerned with building the capacity of the citizens to progressively engage with their duty bearers, with their elected representatives and service delivery managers in order to improve their living conditions and the standards of their environment.
We learned with deep regret what happened in those scenarios. The lack of protective clothing to midwives, the fears also that were upon the communities in contracting COVID-19 out of the home, saw a major service disruption happening. As midwives, we strive to offer comprehensive sexual reproductive health services. We're talking about preconceptual care, which is the care that is rendered to a woman and a partner as they plan for pregnancy. We also offer family planning services, which are supposed to give contraception for those couples that are not yet ready to have children, so that they plan when to have children and how many children to have.
You notice that during the same time when COVID was at its peak, what then happened is that support staff or healthcare workers in most of the healthcare facilities run by either the city of Harare or by the government itself through the Ministry of Health and Childcare. Most of those support staff, they downed their tools. They were on strike because they were protesting, amongst other things, the issue of PPEs, that they were not being given enough protection. So as a result of that, the people who then suffered were mostly pregnant women.
We are concerned much with the provision of essential social services. And one of the major services that we have adequately monitored and followed up is around the issue of sexual, reproductive and maternal health services.
So these services, unfortunately, in the face of COVID, were disrupted. Clinics had closed, even hospitals were not able to carry out their normal duties, and as such, women had no places to go to. We saw women moving from urban areas to rural areas, where midwives in rural areas continued to offer services, despite also the concerns that they had.
key to our concern around maternal health issues has been the inaccessibility of health service centers owing to the continued incapacitation of health personnel at council clinics.
A classic example of this tragic situation is a case that was then brought by Wilsa that is at court at the present moment, in which a client complained of the treatment that she was given at Harare hospital when she attended there, complaining of stomach pains because she was pregnant. This case, without getting into much of the detail, is a flashpoint of the neglect that the healthcare workers who were there, obviously a skeletal staff, they neglected to treat this patient or client as an emergency, which is obviously contrary to what is provided in the Constitution, because every person is entitled to emergency healthcare services. And she was in pain, and eventually, obviously due to other factors, she regrettably lost her child.
We wish that such disruptions would not happen again. The International Confederation of Midwives, giving standards for international midwifery practice, has suggested that deliveries can also be conducted in environments that are nearer to the home, such that if the regulators in every respective country could permit home deliveries, that would enable social distancing for the women, so midwives would be able to offer services in the safety of the woman's home. This would minimize the risks of the woman being infected.
There are around 52 health facilities run by the city of Harare with 2 hospitals. But throughout the period of the COVID-19, the experience has been that around 10 to 12 health centers have been functional and the 2 hospitals.
And we have also noticed that even in terms of the treatment by the courts regarding cases that are brought to court during this COVID era, some of them, they were not treated as urgent as one would expect. But we are happy to have noticed that the case that was brought by Harare Residents Association and a few other women who had been mistreated again at the council clinics was treated as an urgent. And in fact, the court then ordered an immediate opening of the antenatal clinics, which had been closed as a result of the strike.
One of the major concerns that has also given rise to concerns is the corruption within the health service delivery system, where the expecting mothers, where they must get a service, they would not get it formally, but at the same center there would be a way to circumvent a formal process. They get it through health personnel at that local clinic.
The economic environment also further exacerbated the concerns and the disruptions, because COVID fears came in a pre-existing environment where midwives were challenged by the lack in terms of the harsh economic environment. So this affected their resilience, their ability to cope. Therefore, if authorities may endeavor to ensure a living wage, a safer working environment for the midwives, this would further enhance the safety of the women of this nation.
As a way forward in dealing with these maternal health issues, I think there is a misallocation of resources both by government through the Ministry of Health and the council, because council is the one that is responsible for the council clinics. Because I don't understand why, when a budget in fact, is there to deal with these healthy issues. And yet council then comes to court and say that they have a shortage of resources. So the issue appears to be the one of misallocation of resources.
So to us, when we are looking at all this, the kind of solutions that we must begin to imagine would include increased funding for health services, particularly maternal health services and sexual reproduction, targeting our youths, targeting our young women, so that there is sufficient personal protective equipment for the health personnel. There is sufficient bedding in the council clinics. There is adequate remuneration for the council personnel, because currently the city of Harare, from the engagements we have had with city health department officials, is that they are fast losing their experienced nurses who are leaving as a result of this disgruntlement of their salaries and allowances.
And it's regrettable that these institutions would require a court order to compel them to do what they are supposed to do in terms of the constitution, what they are supposed to do in terms of their mandate as an organization like city council clinics or the Ministry of Health. There is a mandate for that ministry to be able to cater for these things.
So as midwives, we continuously seek a collaborative approach with the women of this nation. Women are our partners in childbirth. We seek to honor the obligation that we have promised to them, and together we can fight this COVID-19 concern.